Hello, let's embark on a journey. I never really know how to start videos. I thought it should be more interesting. We're going to talk about expensive fashion, the kind that people pay a lot of money to show on runways and in fashion shows and people go and watch. We're gonna look at clothing and think about how they're made. We're gonna use the knitting machine a little bit. We're gonna use like our crochet hooks a little bit, maybe our sewing machines, but just a little bit. I think it's gonna be fun if you like clothing and fashion and specifically knitting and crochet. So hi, my name is Carolina. This is Carolina's Closet. Welcome to my channel. Every September, yes, September, I love looking at all of the fashion shows. New York, London, Milan, Paris, Beijing, Sao Paulo. It's very nice. I love looking at everything that these brands, that have some capital to them, that can spend a little bit or a lot of bit of money into just making clothing, maybe making art, maybe making something really commercial. I like to see what they're all making. And I am someone who knits. If you've never been to this channel, I knit, I crochet, I make clothing. And I usually knit on one of these. This is a knitting machine. We're going to be using it today. And I just like to see the knitwear mostly and the crochet that is, shown on runways. And I think it's really interesting to look at it. And as someone who doesn't have a brand, I rarely sell pieces. I like to see what these brands are making to be sold, things that they make for people to want, for people to buy, for people to wear. You know what I mean? And I like to think can I make that? Could this be done by yours truly? Or maybe not. And I like to, just see things and talk about it. So, grab your craft, sit down, relax, and let's look at some very expensive knitwear and crochet. Whenever these shows were happening back in September, October 2024, I spent so much time looking at all of the brands on Vogue Runway. And I made these very intense PowerPoint with all of the knits and crochets, and I highlighted the ones that I liked the most in hopes of making videos of all of these shows. New York starts the fashion circuit usually, and I made New York part 1, and then it took me too long to edit, and I got really discouraged because it was approaching November. I wanted to make some more Christmas stuff. I wasn't really thinking about that. And these videos in the way that I see them in my channel, they're more of space filler because I'm not really making much. I just like looking at these and talking to you guys, seeing what you guys think about them. Because I wasn't making things, I just felt like I didn't really want to do it. So I didn't film any of the videos of the fashion shows. But I do find joy in making these. These are also really nice for me to test my samples, then test my knowledge in creating fabric. I saw the big folder with all of the photos of the shows, and I was like, I kind of want to make it. I kind of want to film these videos. So I have all of the runways from New York, London, Paris, and Milan saved, already formatted in PowerPoint with the best and the worst of the ones of my opinions in knitwear. I really want to film all of these videos for all 4 runways, for all 4 cities for the next few weeks, and kind of try to sporadically have them up in the channel. We are reaching the next fashion circuit. It starts in February, the women's wear starts at the end of February. And I think it would be nice to have this reoccurring, keep up with the fashion circuits and look at the knits and crochets. But I don't know if this is something that you guys would like. Maybe we can make this a continuous series if you guys like it and if I don't get annoyed at making them. But anyway, September, October fashion circuit is about spring, summer for the northern hemispheres. So I think technically it is things that are supposed to be, be showing up in the stores beginning March, I guess. So I don't know, maybe you'll see some of these soon in the stores. I don't know. So let's start with this brand called Alejandra, Alonso, Rojas. A lot of these brands I didn't know before. They're not necessarily very, very famous. I had not heard about this brand, but they have a lot of fiber work. They have a lot of crochet, which is handmade, and they have these gowns and party dresses in crochet and knit, which I always think is really interesting to look at. See, we start with a crochet piece, and this is very reminiscent of me of like the Irish lace crochet things. Like we did a big coat last year, and I think it's a nice way of approaching crochet and knit, like making all of these motifs and placing them and then coming in with the filling and joining them. I always want to say like these are very beautiful for the beach, and I feel like I'm almost offending friends and even myself when I say that, because the beach is usually more chill. You can dress up, but it's not like you're not going at your prettiest, and these kinds of things take so long to be made that for me they're always considered luxury because they're always handmade. So I feel like saying that they're for the beach is kind of offensive, but I just, for me, a lot of holes in a dress, a lot of like breeze coming in through the skin, for me that is like a more seaside kind of atmosphere where it's fine for women to show a little bit more of the body, where you'd be more comfortable showing more of your body than in the middle of a city, I guess. But I do see this as like a summery beach, like maybe party in the beach kind of vibe, but you can always line these kinds of pieces and make it for a very, very luxurious, a gala, like a more fancy party. I love it. This one's another crochet one. I will say this throughout this video a lot of times. I have never been in a manufacturer of knits. I have never seen these like big machines in work. I've never worked with one of them. But there are some kinds of crochet looking pieces that I know can be done by knit, because they're knits that look like crochet. And something like this, for some reason, gives me that vibe. I don't think that's the case, but sometimes I can explain it, and sometimes I can't, and here I can't explain it, but there's something about this pattern that for some reason I look at it and I think maybe there is a way that I can see a machine doing it. Maybe it's the color, I don't know, but I do think that this is another Irish lace crochet vision. And what I think is really nice is that they really did mix the like silky, traditionally party dress with the crochet, the fiber art. And I do love when these like very different like multimedia projects are done. This is a very nice way of taking Irish lace crochet, something that is a lot more, you know, see-through, and putting it into like a pretty gown that could be used to like a red carpet or like a gala event. This one is another crochet, and this one's the same thing that I just said, but this one I actually believe it's a form of crochet looking fabric that I see being done by the machine. And maybe it's just the yarn. I don't know what yarn it is, but it's like that thick, like polyester-y yarn. I think maybe it's the sheen to it. I look at it and I think I can crochet this. But I think that the brand had the fabric machine made in like an industrial level to look like crochet. I don't think it's bad particularly. I know a lot of people might not like this. I think it's a form of manufacturing. It could totally be crocheted and I just could be wrong. Next we have this, which this to me is crochet. And again, I look at it, I think very beautiful crochet. But something about it tells me that it could be machinery. Maybe it's that it's too perfect, but it does look very crocheted for me. Like the way that the stitches are made, for me, they look very crochet. And I do like the tassels. I think this is a very pretty stitch that I think we could make something similar, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't like to wear something like this. It does give me off of like an older look, something that I'm not trying to portray. So it's not really for me. I love this scallop edge. I love a scallop edge for everything. I like the color as well. I don't know if it would go with my skin color, I said, as I'm literally wearing a neon version of this color. Also not a lover of 3/4 because I feel like with crochet specifically, when it's thick, it does become very uncomfortable for no reason. You could just go here instead of here. But it does give a classy look, so it depends on what you're going for. And this one I like a lot. Now this is knit, and I'm pretty sure this is machine knit. industrial level. So they make a gigantic batch of this fabric and then cut it and sew it. I do have it in my head that some machines will make the pieces on the go, so they will knit the pieces the same way that I knit mine, like making the piece with the creases and increases in the needles. The industrial versions are kind of this one, but like really big, and they do everything on them by themselves. They don't have to do what I do, like take the carriage and move the carriage and move the stitches. The machine does everything. I don't know if those machines, they just make the fabric and the people have to come in and cut it, or if they can make the pattern pieces like I do here, because here I don't cut my fabrics. I make them on the format of whatever garment I'm making. All of that to say that I think this is mechanized, but we can make things similar, very similar to this in the knitting machine. For pieces like this, it's always really like machine made. We do have ways of making something similar in the knitting machine. Also, I'm pretty sure you can do this by hand, and it's just like a very time-consuming process. I'm not sure how you keep these tensions the same, but I'm really not a hand knitter. So if you're a hand knitter and if you know how to do these kinds of motifs, let me know. In the knitting machine, we do have a couple of ways of doing like lace. I never really explored them because I find them hard. If you see here on my machine, for example, there's this tuck. This is usually for cards like this. Can you see that it's a lot different from the design ones? And it has these holes that are very far apart from each other. What it does is that the machine changes the yarn from one needle to the other, to the next one, and it creates a hole where these holes are, but in the fabric. And it's these holes that create like the lacy bits. And we can do that manually. Whenever I talk about this, I do it manually because I need to stop for like a day and explore these lacy styles. There's also another card different from this one. I don't even know if I have it. I probably do. Actually, I do have it. It's right there. Right there. Can you see it? That is also for lacy stitches, and it's just something that I don't know how to use. So maybe I should learn that to talk about in these videos, because it's very often that fashion houses do use like a lace style knit. I'm just going to try and copy this. Woo! Wait, I'll start here on the one, maybe. Like so. And keep this needle forward, otherwise it creates a bigger hole than what we need. And bring it forward. See, I think I should maybe just do the next one. I'll try the next one, see if it works. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will create the lather effect that I talked about, and I said it was so hard. But I don't think this is gonna pick up the stitch, just this. Well, we can try it. And here I'll skip one. So I'll have a full stitch here to hold the previous stitch. Let's see how it goes. Well, it picked up. Let's continue doing this. So in this one, I'm skipping one. And then for this one, it's just the very next one after this. So this. Oh, this is actually quite scary. I feel so fragile. It's this one, yeah. No, 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 please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Ah, no, no, no. I'll start it again. me out. Remember when I said I couldn't do the like one strand little thing? Well, obviously I can. I just had never had the balls to do it, I guess, because it's so fragile. But I do think I got like the gist of it. And I think this is kind of what it is, but I'll cast it off and let's see how it looks without it being stretched. This is the version keeping the stitches, so it's a lot more structured because there's always a stitch in between each and everything. This is a lot more fragile, this is a lot more fragile, but I think this one looks more like the thing that we're trying to do. I'll cast it off. And yeah, so as I mentioned, we could use like the tuck / like the summer carriage that does the lacy stitches just by pulling the card on and off. I just don't know how to use it. This one I do think looks similar to theirs. Obviously mine is a lot open. The weave is more open. The thread seems to be thinner. I will say that I would love to make like a top, mostly a top with this kind of needlework, just like changing the yarn to create the design like this. But every time I think about it, I just think of like the work, the like attention that I have to dedicate to that, to like not mess it up, not mess up the design, that I kind of chicken out and don't do it. But I have, like, I think it would be really nice to make something like this. I do think this reminds me of a moth. I think it's really pretty. So next we have Coach. Coach disappointed me this season. They just had more things. I remember talking a lot about Coach 2023. And this year they have absolutely nothing. They have these like graphic sweaters, which I think are pretty. And I think if you're a hand knitter, this would be such an intense color work project. I am not a hand knitter, you guys know that. But I've seen some beautiful hand knitted projects on TikTok lately, and I just know that some of you are really good with color work. And these illusions, like, they would be so cool to do. I like this one a lot. If I wanted to do something like this with this pattern in my machine, I would have to do it in Tarsia, and by that point, I'm not, this is so intricate, because it is repetitive. I guess I could do it, it's just not something that I like as much to do. But if I was to do something like this, I'd probably do it colorful, like a yellow with a red, an orange, maybe a baby pink. I think it would look prettier because I don't like the black and gray, but I know a lot of people love it. Now, Rosetta Getty, I don't know how to say this. They have these, which I just brought here because they're very basic. And this is no diss, by the way. It's just that they seem like very basic projects. The mesh one is just fabric that they bought and made. Now this top and this dress, for me, they seem like crochet. It seems like a small brand who showed in New York, and part of their ethos is making crochet. So they made these pieces, which I think is pretty. But I don't know, it's not that I don't like simple. I like simple. But for me, when I think I'm going to show and pay a lot of money to be in like New York Fashion Week, I think that you have to have this like amazing artistic vision, do something different with your designs, something that a costumer wants. Sure, there's different ways you can tackle fashion and fashion brands, but I'm sure I see people wearing these, like this top. It's very beautiful, very wearable. I just don't know, like, maybe, I don't know. Because, like, if there's something too crazy, I'm like, who would wear this? This is so crazy. But at least I like looking at, like, the way that things are made. When it's too simple and it seems like just randomly thrown there, it's kind of like why is this in vogue? I don't think most brands need to be in like high fashion spaces. They can have a nice boutique with nice pretty things to buy. But I don't know. Maybe this could be like a very weirdly wrong take. I just brought here because I don't know, maybe you're just a hobby crocheter, hobby knitter, and these are on New York Fashion Week, and you could be making something that is even better than this. knots. Like, I think it's inspiration in a weird way. So now we have fun, because as much as fashion students get shit for like just doing insane things and no one's ever gonna wear, they do have a concept, and I think it's fun to look at. I don't know everyone here watching me, but they could just be like me and you know, just experimenting with some knitting machines, with like crochet, and you know, after this they're probably never gonna have fun again and just go corporate and design flat sketches for brands or something. So I think it's fun to see this. This is crazy. A lot of knots. Just the chunkiest yarn this person could find and knotted it in an interesting way that made this interesting jacket. And honestly, I do see people wearing the knots, like the knotted jacket, like the knotted coat. But imagine this with like jeans and like maybe a turtleneck. This is cool. I think it's cool. It's interesting, it's intriguing. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but if you're a little bit into fashion and you like doing a little something to your outfit, and you live in a city that you're not gonna get mocked for wearing something like this out, that's cool. The whole outfit I'm not a fan of, but I like this. And this is the Instagram of the student. And then this one, which I think is really cool, and it's knit, and it's probably knitted in a machine similar to mine, because they do have these in fashion schools usually. Not in my fashion school, but in a lot of other ones they do. So basically these are two different things. So let's explore these textiles. For this one's here, this is basically like crochet pillows, kind of. This probably padded and like sewn on top of this big like puffy sleeve, but I think it's nice to interpret it in a way with the knitting machine, and for that I'm gonna use the hold button. This is the hold button. So now that I clicked this, all the needles that are forward are not going to be knit. So if I take, like, for example, all of these forward and then I knit, let's use the row counter. I'll knit like 10 rows here. I'll see how it goes. And now I want to knit this part, but I want to just have a little bit of yarn here. I'll knit like 20 rows here. So now this is a lot bigger than this. And now I will bring these here. And knit 10 here. And now I can just knit normally. And knit. Okay, actually that was really bad. So what is happening here is basically this is a lot longer than these. So once I take the weights off, this is going to be like a little bit three-dimensional in comparison to these, but it's completely different things. So never mind that. That was a fail. Let's go to the next. Woo! In this one, it seems like there are 3 kinds of fabric. So first we have this stripe. So they have 2 different yarns, and whenever they change to this lighter color one, they do the same thing that we did with this look. With this one, just make holes, and these ones are bigger holes and this one are smaller holes. And for this one as well, just like very loose weave, very like thin yarn, looser tension, and just make a bunch of holes. We could start by making a few holes, just like small ones. We can skip a bit because I don't want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And if we purposefully leave them back and go and do 1 row and then bring them forward, This is two rows worth of a little hole. So it's bigger than if I just brought the needle forward immediately after I took the stitch out. We can do an even bigger hole by just taking 2 stitches out. With this ones, you just have to like think about how you're going to put them back. You can't just do this because it won't pick up. Like when you do the next one, they're not going to be picked up because this is not a proper stitch. But I could just, I could come here and wrap this, question mark. So now they will be picked up, but this is kind of annoying to do with all of them. So I can just like pick one up and then the other. And if you want, you can just like not pick one up like this. And it creates like a little double hole, I guess. It's like preference, it's part of the design, like you do you. I think this is quite cute little, but once it's not stretched, it changes a little bit, so you have to be mindful of that. So I did 2 rows and then I can pick them both up here. And then do 2 more rows and just bring this forward. And for the like very big holes, I like to like cast off a little bit. Get my latch hook and cast off like 4 or 6 in this way. This is not my preferred cast off method, but since it's like in the middle of the work, it works. And I can just do 3 that way. Knit. Now with this, you will have this problem with the leathers. So this is very bulky here. I'm not sure that is what they made. Another option is to use short rows, but since there are so many of these holes beside the big one, I actually think something like this is what they did. Because with short rows, you would kind of do a hole, knit on one side, and then knit on the other side to reach the point where you got, and then close the hole. And then in the same piece, we have the fringes. Now, I do think it's a separate panel, so they have this big panel with the stripes and the holes, and then they have a big panel with the fringes, and they connect them. But I will be doing the fringes here just to demonstrate, because I don't want to do a separate thing. You get another yarn and a long stick, and you just kind of add them. keep doing them so they start stacking up. You can do what I did in my Christmas video. If you watched the video, is where like I add the tassels instead of doing it like this, which is an option as well. Okay, so as we mentioned, this one is a total fail. This seems to me like this like interesting fabric, interesting pattern that this person created, and then they came in with crochet. This is crochet. This is crochet for sure. With crochet pillows and stitch them on this for the texture. I don't know the concept of the collection, but like they would add it for the texture element. I tried to do this with just short rows in this fashion, and it is a fail. It does give like that bump. If I added even more rows, it would be even bumpier. But I think it's I don't know. Not at all what this person has here. Maybe a way to approach it, but I don't know. I don't think it's interesting enough. This is a lot cooler. For the little lacy bits, it's just some handmade holes in whatever pattern they decided. And then the big hole, this one, it actually turned out better than I thought it would. And for the fringe, it's a very sad layer of fringe just by itself right here. When you do a whole thing of fringe like this, you add a bunch of layers one on top of the other, and then they stack up and become this Adam Lipes. Just some nice textured knits that I think would be a staple in anyone's wardrobe. Any fuzzy, fluffy yarn and make a little tank top. I see a lot of beauty in it. I think having one of these in a wardrobe would be nice, a nice staple. And you could probably make it. And I should probably make one of these because I need simple clothing because that's what I wear the most of. And then I keep making crazy stuff and I never wear the things that I make because I wear things that are just a little more simple than the things that I make. But anyway, Tommy Hilfiger has a lot in it. And some crochets or like crochet looking stuff, which I thought was really interesting because they're very big, straight to consumer, and everything here is very like consumer vision. It's not like made for this like avant-garde art people. It's made for like normal day-to-day people who are just going to buy these and wear them. And I think they're really pretty. So first we have just some like stripes. They do use like slightly different yarns. So most of the stripy things, especially like here, you can see it in the sleeves. The red stripes, they are a little bit elevated in contrast with the blue. It's probably just a different yarn that's a little thicker that made these like, it's not only a stripe, but it's a stripe that has a little bit of an elevation, which I think is cool. Is a cool thing to bring to a design. I can't really see the black, but I can see that the sleeves are on the pearl side, but I don't know if it's like knit and pearl or if it's all pearl because I cannot see if this is a knit or pearl because it's all black. But I think it's interesting also to do like the knit and pearl. I cannot do knit and pearl vertically in my machine, only horizontally, but in like large scale machinery, that's probably like the easiest thing to do, I think. I'm pretty sure you can do that easily hand knitting as well. As just in these machines it's harder because you'd have to like take the full project out of the machine, flip it, do a few rows, flip it back. That would be insane. And then we have some crochet here in the back, which I think is nice. It looks a lot like crochet to me. And then just like a little tank top. I think it's pretty. I think it's interesting. Like the whole vest is knit like this. And then the sleeves are really big and they're just attached. So they were made separately and put here because the knit here goes to the sides. And this one goes to the top like this. So I think this is nice. Nice way of constructing. Some interesting mesh with like the stripes. They have like the mesh body and then the more closed knit for the collar and the little thing here. Nice. And then these, which I think are really fun, sweaters, and in different ways they kind of juxtaposed them. So basically if you look at it, like they have different layers. So this is not just like a stripe and then they continue the sweater. It's like a sweater with a very big deep V and then another sweater underneath. Here is just the opposite. And when I first saw this, I thought that this was like a design element. So like that they didn't do two sweaters, one on top of the other, that they just did this big sweater and then they have a separate piece of the pattern that just goes underneath the stripes. So it is all one sweater, not two. And I thought the same for all of them. They would be joined like here in the seams. And this one especially, this one I think that's the case. This layer of fabric underneath these V is just part of the sweater, is just stitched here. But for these two, whenever I just do the close-up, I do think that, but then looking at the sleeve, like there are two sleeves. It's really odd to me because like if you look here, there is like a bit of transparency in this sleeve here that would indicate to me that that is one layer of this knitted fabric, right? But then like if you zoom in this sleeve here, it looks like it's two layers. So I don't know if they have like two layers of sweaters and this is like a styling thing, or if it's actually like one sweater that has this like juxtaposition of sweaters idea, but it's all one thing. Because that I think would be really cool, to like pretend it's two sweaters but it's only one, because I think it's fun. If you're someone who dresses normally but you buy this, it's like, I want to look like I'm layering and putting a lot of effort, but it's actually just like one big sweater. You know, I think it's fun. But if it's two sweaters that are one on top of the other, I think it's more, I don't like it as much. Yeah, for this one as well, I thought it was just, you know, one layer, because especially if you look to the back, it does seem like it's sheer. So that would indicate one layer. But then there's like the bottom of the fabric here, so maybe it's all one thing. And then this would actually technically have to be a sweater, not a cropped cardigan, and it would not, I don't know, like I'd rather this be a short cardigan than a sweater. But then if it's all one thing, it would be a sweater because there's no way of opening this. I don't know. But I think it's interesting. I think it's nice to look at this and think. And then this I think are really fun because there are a lot of things, but to me it doesn't look insane. Like there are a lot of different techniques. Because here we have like a little collar work, a little jacquard. Here we have a little intarsia, maybe, possibly. To all of it, we have these like braid that make holes as well. So they're braid holes, like a crochet neckline. It does look a lot like crochet to me. Nothing else looks crochet. Everything is knit. This to me looks like crochet. So it's odd and everything is striped. I think it's fun. Let's test these out because they're fun. Okay, let's go Tommy Hilfiger. So this is a lot of things in one, which I think it's like, I think it's cool because they made it work. See, for me, for some reason, this does kind of look handmade, or maybe possibly in one of these machines, but I really truly don't know. And I think these are interesting. The way that I would approach doing these textures would be to do raised stitches. Actually, I'm not sure how to call them, but something like this is just to mark the row. If I do just a few, like 5 rows or something, and then pick them up. Okay, and this is just to mark it so I can take it off. And you won't be able to see it here because this is the back side. When we take it off of the machine, you see that there's like a little bump, a little texture. I don't think that is the case here. I think that it almost looks to me like there is like a pearl roll here, but and then for the braids, now I'm not the best with braids, but what I would do, I think, let me see if it works. So I'll take one stitch every few. So let's do 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. And now these do stay back, they don't come forward. And I'll do like, I think 3 rows. I'll have to grab these. And then I will cross them. So I'll always do my right hand on top. So up. I don't think that's the case actually, because this is too harsh. No, never mind. This is, no, we cannot do this. Not like this. Let me rethink that. Because this is a braid, normal braid, but I did too many stitches. It would work with less. But it seems like they unstitch. I will do 2 stitches. Skip 3. These ones, they are loose, and the ones underneath seem to be working. So this one is out, but I'll just try to keep it here. This one, I'll pick it up here. Take off the stitches. Maybe that was dumb, but let's try it. Put these, okay, no, that was actually dumb. This is my interpretation of this like thing. As you can see, it's not the same at all, but it's like a way that I could do it here. And then my braid is this one, which was that one very hard to do. First of all, I did it on the opposite side of this one, but like, can you see like this one, these yarns, they drag here. And then these ones, they seem to do the braid. And they also don't skip one. Okay, I had this idea, which is the only thing that I managed to understand from this. And I don't even know if it's good because I can only see it when I take it off of the machine. But my interpretation would be to here using the hold button. So I will do 1 roll to get here. Not roll, like I will knit till here. Only 1 row. And then for the next 2 needles, which are the ones that do this bit here, I will manually stitch them and bring them back. Like this. And it creates like a very long stitch. See, like very long. For the next 2 stitches, I'll do like 3 rows. So it creates a little bit of a gap, not too much. And then I will grab the 2 and 2. Where's my other 2? Oh my god. Do the braid, which is a lot easy like this. And this one, the long one, goes forward. And it's hard to pick it up because they're so loose. But these ones go first. So they're in front. And then these ones go in the back. And it does drag this yarn for these 2 needles. Because then I will just bring them back and then I will do another one. We'll see it in a second if it worked. But before we end this, I want to mention the jacquard. The machine can do drawings in 2 colors with these things. This is my New Year's design. I have a video about it. And then this is a clean one. So you punch the holes, make the figures that you want. Like this is Christmassy. And then you put it here. The machine will interpret all of the needles that are, this will kind of function. And whenever the needles that represent the spaces with the holes are going forward, and then the needles that represent the blank spaces are going back. And then the machine, you put another yarn here in the machine, and the needles that are forward pick up the second color, the needles that are back pick up the back color. And that is the jacquard in the knitting machine. I could get a card like this, make this pattern, and use it in this machine to make the design. Something that you also can do is kind of manually use the jacquard function, and like you can do that to kind of not waste cards, or if you don't have cards. I have this pressed, right? So this is the jacquard function is on. That means that all the needles that are forward are going to be with a second color if I press this button. So if we try and follow this design, we can do like, it's the blue, right? So 2, and then skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, skip 4, 2, skip 4, 2. And now all of these, once I add the yarn here, are going to be picked up by the blue, even without the card here, right? So if I want to follow this, now I can add the next one, because I don't have this. So I think they're all going to come forward automatically since I don't have a card here. But now if I put them all back, so all the back ones are white, if I bring forward the next one for all of them to make this one, right? And I will do it, and then we need to keep bringing them back since it doesn't have a card. And then the next one after that, so this, and this, and then 2 for the last one. So these 2, these 2, and then these 2, probably this first one, but I'm not doing that. And then I can just skip 2 rows. Disable everything that I just did for the jacquard, do 2 rows, and then I could start it again. So here, jacquard on, second yarn on, second yarn on, here, do it again. So this is a way that you can use the jacquard for like a simpler design. If you don't have extra cards, or if you just want to try a design before, you know, punching in the holes, if you only have a few cards that you want to use. Because then I did it the wrong way. You have to always remember when you're doing jacquard, you're doing the opposite. We followed the pattern as is, and it's going to be the other way around. But this is a way of doing this color work more manually in this machine. So yeah, as we can see, it's a lot of things all in one. So I made the bump that seems to exist, especially in, if you look at the Tommy Hilfiger symbol here, because they don't change lines anymore. They only change the lines horizontally, like vertically. So I like that they continued the stripes, even though they were not continuing the stripes. But I don't think this is the way that it's done. It is a way that I could approach it in my machine. It does take a little while, so I don't know if I ever would. So this is how the first braid looks. It looks like a pretty braid that has nothing to do with these. But then we have this, which I thought I was slaying. Once I did it, I was like, this is it. And I think I was almost there. I should have continued exploring this one because it's missing the holes. I thought that just like this space for the braid, using like the very loose tension in one of the sides of the braid, and then doing the 3 rows in the other one, I thought that would be enough for the whole, but it was not. I would have to do an actual hole and then do all of that and then transfer the other stitch to the other side, so there's a proper hole in these. So it's almost there, and I do think it looks pretty. It does look a little bit too subtle in my choice of yarn and in my machine. And then for like my handmade jacquard, I think it turned out really good. I did flip it wrong accidentally. I didn't really think. And obviously, if I was to do like a big garment like this, I would just take the time to punch the holes into a card and make it into a card. But because it was a small sample, I used it like this, and this is how the bag looks. Lots of different techniques in only one garment, but I think it works. So yeah. And then we have this, which I think is fun. Okay, let's go for Jane Wade. This is cool. It's not my style at all, but it's just so cool. And it's that mix of metals in yarn. Like this first look, it looks like macrame, and then they added these beads. I thought it was like just like big glass beads, but not glass, metal. But it's not. It's this like flat things with 2 holes in each end. I don't know if they connect them like in knots and then continue the whole thing, or if they have the thread going behind the metal thing. I don't know how it's made, but it looks like a mixture of like macrame and adding these beads. I think these pieces are fully handmade. If you look at the fringe at the end of the dress, for me this is a fully handmade project, and I can't really grasp how to make it. I've never really done macrame, not that good with like using beads and stuff, but I think this is so beautiful. Such a interesting use of yarn, macrame, and like this, and making it very edgy in this like different style. I love it. And then this top is crochet. Like they mixed the crochet with this very interesting flat bead that is metal, so it looks very like edgy, like grungy, I guess. I think it's so nice. It's such a cool way of creating this piece, and it's, in my opinion, I think it's fully handmade, like artisanal, and it looks so cool. And I think it's really nice when brands do like artisanal things like macrame, that you hear like, oh, I made a macrame thing. You think more like hippie, artisan, like crafts. But no, like this is fashion. This is so pretty. And like fashion is like everything is handmade. Like we use machines, we use sewing machines, but everything is made by humans manipulating the fabric or the yarn. But you know, there are different scales, different kinds of things. But this is, to me, seems like fully handmade and amazing. Diotima now. I like Diotima. They do have some very beautiful stuff. My problem is that they use a lot of doilies. The way that they use it is a lot better than other brands use this season. That we will see a lot of doilies this overall season. I don't love the look of doilies made into clothing, because to me it just looks too DIY. This brand looks a lot DIY, which is not a bad thing. I always say this because I just think that I can make these things, and I'm like, does it need a fashion show? But I think maybe that's just a me problem. You know, if I'm so bitter, I should just try and make a fashion show, but I'm not doing that. Something about this brand is like, it's so beautiful, but I'm just like, I don't know, I think it has a lot of potential. The only thing that I do not like about this brand, and it's not just this brand, is that they do editorial photos for the fashion week, and it's released on the Vogue Runway app, and like that's where I see all these photos. When I look into like fashion runway, I want to see the clothing, and you'll see a lot of the photos that they take to showcase their clothing are beautiful, are conceptual, but you cannot really see the clothes, and I don't like that. I want front and back. I just want to see the clothing. Like, I know most smaller brands cannot afford to do a runway show. It is very expensive. I'm not saying do a runway show, but if you're going to release your photos on these platforms, I would rather just do like a front back view of the outfits of the garments. That's a me thing. Like, it's not that I don't like fashion photography, I do, but I think this is not the space for it because it impedes the visualization of the actual clothing. That's what I like. Anyway, this is interesting. It's a whole like metal thing, like adding some metals to a skirt. I think it's interesting. Not my cup of tea, but it's nice. What I want to talk about is this top. Basically, it looks like they have a normal long sleeve. Maybe it's a very good quality long sleeve, and then they just add a trim. It looks like crochet, and they just add it here. It's just that, like, it doesn't seem like there's nothing to it. It's the same thing here. Like, that one was gray with black, which I'd rather it be one color like this. It looks more intentional. Looks like it belongs more. The neckline with this crochet thing, I think is handmade, but I could be wrong. It looks like something that it could be thrifted. That's the vibe that I get. Like, they thrift like these, they just have a supplier of doilies and they add it to their outfits. And oh, that's, by the way, I don't research the brand, so maybe it is clear in their mission, in their website, in their Instagram what it is, like what they do, where they source fabrics. I don't look into the brands that I'm looking at the photos of because I'm just looking at the photos of the clothing. I just like to look at the clothing. Maybe that's on me. And then there are the tops. I think the yellow and black it's prettier just because I don't like white and like off-white / ivory together. For me, they're completely different colors that shouldn't go together. And this is also like a crochet on top of a garment. For me, it looks like they had these doilies and they just threw it on top of these clothings. Maybe the clothings are amazing quality. That's good. But it lacks a... I don't know. It doesn't look intentional. I don't know what it is. It's not something that I adore. I like the vibe. I just don't like the execution, I guess. Like the seam here it's like curved down and then the crochet is curved up. Why didn't they do all the way down? Did they crochet this to add it to this piece? Because it's well fitted. So I would think that this is probably a crochet that they made to be this garment. Then why wouldn't they follow the seams of the fabric part of the garment? So that makes me think that they just found these, not found it, like sourced these doilies or whatever and added them because they fit perfectly this aesthetic. I don't know. There's something about it like. I do love the hem of the pants. They have like these beads on them. That I like better. If you're just going to like zhuzh up an outfit with like these handcraft elements, I like the beads better, way better than the adding of the doilies. I can't explain, like, I don't want to be mean to this brand because in essence, I'm supposed to love it. And maybe I'm just being mean for no reason. I don't know. Then they have these mesh tops, which are, whatever, fun, look pretty. Oh, and this is the kind of photo that I was talking about. Why is it so far away? Why is the photographer in the second story of the house and the person so far away? You cannot see the details of the clothing. There is a place for this kind of photography. I just don't think it's the Vogue Runway app to promote like the fashion week. Okay, but now let's go to the elements that I love about this brand, these cutouts. I don't know if you can see it, but they have these like very nice cutouts in the pants and the shorts. This is the part that I love about this brand. Sometimes they do this amazing craft work into pieces. Like they made these pants, they made these shorts, and then they cut out pieces of it to form like these leaves, and they embroidered on top of that. That I love. I think it's pretty, I think it's subtle, but not really. Like if you would wear pants like these, you're fashion. You're fashion. Like wearing cutout pants. And it's pretty and it's embroidery. It's fiber arts. I think it's amazing. And I think it's so amazing that I actually made one for myself. So I have these pants and I thrifted them ages ago. It fits me quite well, but it's low-waisted. So I had to spend a lot of time transforming these pants into high waist, because if I'm going to take the time to embroider like leaves into the pants, I need to wear them. And I was not going to wear those pants low-waisted like that. I don't like that. It's not my style. I don't wear low-waist like that. So I went through the whole process of taking the hem of the pant, taking off the waistband, adding the hems to the waistband, adding another zipper, adding the actual waistband again. That took me a long time. And then after that process that took me a long time, I cut some flowers to those pants to make this, because I think it's really pretty. So first I just need to trace it. I think this is actually okay. I will trace this and then I will cut it around. Okay guys, so I finished one of the petals and it does take a long time. I'm using just like normal machine thread because it's the closest color. So I have 4 threads in the needle. It's looped at the end. So it's 2 very long pieces of thread, and this is important because this is how I like to start. When I do embroidery, I'm not an embroidery expert, but I find it the best way of starting because there is no knot. So basically, I want to start around here. With the same thread that I'm using here, I'm going to do the crisscross after the embroidery. So I start where I want the crisscrossing yarn to start, okay? Get a distance, like, I don't know, like 1/2 centimeter of the edge, and that's what you're gonna try and follow for the whole thing. And basically you pull the thread and you use the loop of folding the thread to start, like to stop the yarn, and instead of a knot, so it doesn't look like there's no knot. And basically what we do, go a little to the side for the next stitch, and you have to kind of loop the thread. It's kind of hard to see because the thread is really long, but can you see? So the thread is coming from here, is going from the top, so this is the right side of the fabric. It's going in, and then it makes a little knot here on top, and it creates like a border around the raw edge. See? And I like to go pretty close to each other. Like, this is actually a bad one because I didn't go far enough. But you have to be careful because, like, here, I did them too close together, and it kind of, like, scrunched it a little bit. Now, my fabric is a little elastic, so that might be, like, a bad fabric to use. But can you see, like, this, I just went side to side, and this one, I went too close. So this one looks a lot straighter, and this one has, like, a little bump to it. I don't know if it's noticeable. Okay, I'm back, and I repositioned everything because this is easier for me. So I'm right here, and like I'm working this way, so like opposite of handwriting. What I like to do is I throw the yarn that way. I come to the top, so like the yarn is here, come over the yarn, and then right beside the last one, do a new one, and it goes underneath the previous thread, like so, and it already like it creates the knot like this. I'm sorry that this thread is really long. For explanation, it's not really that good, but I didn't want to cut it and like have to hide the yarn because I like to do it all in one go. See, and it creates these the stitches on the border. There's a name for this stitch, I just forget. You get the gist of it pretty quick, and then you just have to go around it, try to be as neat as possible. But it is hard. It's like hand embroidery, you can see like mine is very uneven. It's not my best trade. When I get to here, I will show you how I did the crisscrossing. It's really pretty. Okay, so I did everything, and as you can see, it's not like perfect, and it does like bulge out a little bit. I did do what I told you not to do, which is do way too many stitches together here because it was so beautiful. Look, they look really neat, but it's way too many for here. But I'll just keep it like this. So basically, you have to like lay this kind of flat, like as flat as you can. And then what we do is, so I'm here, right? I will go back just so it doesn't like zhuzh out. I'll just like do like a little stitch around. And then, so I have to go here, go to the other side with the thread and go from the bottom to the top like this. And now for the next stitch we have to go up and around because it's going to do this, and it goes down like this. But I don't want this thing on top. It has to go underneath. I mean, I find it better, like prettier. So I go like a stitch back through either in between the threads or just below the fabric for like a few stitches. Ooh, like once like this. And then like this, and then you go down. You're gonna go down and then you're gonna go up. So don't go too close because you're gonna go back up. Okay, so these take a long time, so I will be finishing it in the following weeks. And my pants are really stretchy, so they do warp the cutouts that are not embroidered. And I think after I'm done, it's going to be amazing. I think this is such a beautiful touch. I wouldn't have thought of doing that to anything if I hadn't seen it done like this in this brand's clothing. So this is part of why I like to look into these designer examples of clothing. I think it's nice for inspiration because it's a little DIY that I did to my pants that I never wore. I finally got it. I finally changed the waistband because I needed to do that, and now I'm embroidering it, and I think it's gonna be really nice. You know, this is what I have with this brand. Like sometimes I love their creations, and sometimes I'm like, I really don't like it, but I don't want to not like it because I like the brand. I don't know. See? So beautiful. And theirs is like so well thought out. It's like organic in a very cohesive way. The flowers, like such sleeves that they did, look so pretty. Mine is not gonna look as pretty as theirs, obviously, because my pants are stretchy. Theirs is probably not. The one thing about these, like, I do think that this mesh is fully handmade, like the same way that I did mine, that I showed you how to do it with going back and going forward with the crisscross. I do think that around the petals, so that it doesn't fray, the embroidery that I did by hand, I think that could possibly be mechanized because obviously they know where the design's gonna be. They know beforehand that they're going to do these cutouts. I think that they have the pattern pieces and then they cut out the flowers and they probably machine embroider the edges of the leaves. That can be done even in a domestic sewing machine with the zigzag stitch in a very tiny spacing, so it is a lot more cohesive, a lot more sturdy. It just looks better. So that's probably what they do. They have the pattern pieces, they do the embroidery, and then they come in by hand and do the crisscrossing motif of the inside of the petals. And actually, this motif, the like crisscrossing, I don't know if it's a very common motif. I used it a lot to make my Irish lace crochet jacket. It's a very prominent motif in Irish lace crochet. So the Irish lace crochet, it has its, you know, time on sun right now. And this is a very beautiful, what seems to me, macrame skirt that we can see. So we cannot talk about it, but I'm sure this is very beautiful macrame done with a cord, nice cord, and I like that. I think it's fun. Also, they did do the flower things on the top. We had only seen it on pants. Now it's on the hem of this top, which I think is pretty. But I do think it looks prettier on pants, on like shorts and pants, than it looks on this top. St. John machine knit, very sturdy, like machine knit. I just wanted to show you because this is something maybe you could do it by hand. It's gonna take a while. I have done similar dresses in my machine. To do something on this machine would be quite fast. It's just like 2 yarns here. There are a couple of changes of colors to make this color effect, the changing of colors. That's really easy to be done in the machine. Yeah, it seems to be a very heavy dress. I have done one of these and it's just really hard to use because it's very heavy, but it's a knitted dress. And this is like the equivalent of these, but in a machine with a very thick yarn. You can see the holes, but they're not as prevalent. You can see it as well as the first one that we saw and the sample because the yarn is so thick. Kamali, New York. It's a knitted dress that has the fringe. I only think it's interesting because I have this yarn and I hate this yarn. I hate this yarn a lot. I have too much of it. And basically I look at this dress and I see this yarn. I see it being done with this yarn that literally looks like a trash bag. It looks like a trash bag that was cut into stripes. And I was charged way too much for it. I bought it for one specific use in one look of my collection. Let me look. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's sheer. It's the same thing. Okay, and this sucks. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not comfortable either. Like, I think if you go in the sun with this, it will probably melt. It's plastic. I have so much of this. I don't know what to do with it because when I bought it, it was in the beginning of my journey, kinda. And I looked at this yarn and for some reason, I didn't even do a sample swatch to test it out. I just looked at it and I was like, this is not enough. So I bought like 8 combs of this to make one pair of pants. I didn't even use a full one because this yarn goes for such a long way and it's such an annoying yarn and I have so much of it and I have no idea what to do with it. I'll probably have to make bags because I wouldn't make things for me to wear with this, for me to wear. I wouldn't make it for anyone to wear because it's not comfortable. So I guess I'd have to make accessories. I just don't know what to do. And I brought this here because I hate this yarn. I don't like how this looks because it looks like this yarn. And if it is something similar to this yarn, I just know that it's not comfortable. Slip tank top dress done with a flat yarn, probably a trash bag of a yarn, and then it has the fringe. I like a fringe, but whenever I see a fringe, I'm like, oh, this is so annoying to wash. But it has a fringe, and that's it. Norma Kamali. This is random. Their whole collection is this. It's this kind of pattern. I looked at it and I thought, laser cut, fun, interesting, different. But then I look closely. It looks like it's supposed to look like crochet. Do you know what I mean? The way that the yarn was done, they made it so it looks like crochet. But it's not crochet. It is a machine-made fabric, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be done in a knitting machine. It does go around on itself, like the flowers, they go around. The stitches follow the pattern of the flower, like supposedly you wouldn't be able to do with a machine because, you know, the thing about crochet is that our hands can move the fabric in so many ways because it's a slow process. The machines, they're not really going to create a machine that works in all of these different directions because it would be so specific for each garment created, so they don't really do that. That's like one of the reasons why crochet can be done by hand. Oh, that is one of the reasons that crochet cannot be done by machine, is that it is not worth it to create machines that do what crochet does. That it would need like one specific machine for each movement of the crochet, so it's not profitable for manufacturers to do that. But this looks like it's supposed to be that, but it's not. I think this is probably embroidery, like an embroidery machine that embroidered this, and then somehow like they embroider it on top of a fabric that dissolves or like is taken apart. I don't know. I don't really see things like that often, so it intrigues me in a way. I'm like, what is this? I don't know what it is. I can do it in my machine. I can do something similar in crochet, but then it would look like crochet, and this doesn't look like crochet. It looks like it wants to look like crochet, but it doesn't. And then the same brand has this. It's supposed to look like a little crochet top, and it's not. It's knit, and it has this very ugly I don't know what it is. Like the support, really ugly. I'm pretty sure this is all a knitting machine. These bottom details look a lot more intricate, but like there are machines that do lace. I think those machines will be able to do something like this. So, and then Love Shack Fancy. This is the only thing that I have. It looks a lot like it's supposed to be crochet, and there are beads in only a few of the triangles. The beads are like spaced out, so it's not every single like cluster that has a bead on it. I don't know how machines add beads. For me, in my head, beads are always added by hand. And then I think to myself, like, if they're adding the beads, this could all be a crochet, and then they just have a pattern in which they add the beads. Or maybe this is all a knit dress made by a machine, and then they just come in and add the beads by hand. I think it's an interesting dress. In a way or another, I do think that these like one stitch, one motif dresses, crochet dresses, or made to look like crochet dresses with a slip underneath, they will always look kind of similar to me. It will change the cut, and if the lining goes all the way to the bottom or not. Like this one only goes to here, which I prefer. If I'm going to wear a crochet dress that is like full length, I want the lining to only go to my thighs. Cute. I think nice to inspire the young generation to make crochet. I don't know. I think it's cute. And then rentrage. I hate this. We're hating. Why is this part of the fashion week? Maybe it's to mock, because I know that there are some brands who their purpose, their mission is to like mock fashion while working within fashion, and to each their own. I guess there's a discourse there, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong or right, or it's just their vision. But this is a doily on top of a graphic t-shirt. Like, I don't know, like, I like to look at fashion. I like to look at how brands and designers approach things, even if it's not my cup of tea. If I don't like one thing, I like the other. Sometimes I just get really frustrated. Because, why? There are people, I think it's just like the comparison, not to me necessarily, but like, I follow a lot of people on Instagram and TikTok who are these amazing creators who make knits and crochets either by hand or with a machine like mine, crochet with a hook, even like a lot of people who do sewing, like sewing, because I sew. People sew, right? And create these amazing things. And, you know, because my for you pages are more catered towards, you know, fiber arts, I see a lot of people who will do amazing things. And they try really hard, and they're not able to, like, people just don't get their content, you know, people just don't see the amazing things that people are making. And I think like social media is an amazing way to like showcase things. That's what I do. And then you see like a brand, a random, I don't even know what the name of the brand is, Reintrage. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's big or small. I just know that I look at it on the Vogue runway app, and like Vogue kind of sponsoring it in a way, using their platform, which it's not necessarily the biggest platform out there. Like, I don't know many people who are going to the Vogue runway app and looking at everything. It's mostly people who are more interested in fashion. It's not as mainstream as like TikTok or Instagram. But I don't know, it just pisses me off. What the fuck is this? Like, just grab your grandma's doily and put it on top of your t-shirt. Everything can be fashion, everything can be art, but like, why? It annoys me. It's not something that I like. I hate this. And we're finishing in a bad note because this is the end of the video. I hope it was good company for your crafts. I hope you liked our little samples that we made in the machine. This video was very machine focused, and then we had a sewing project. Next video, we're still gonna be in New York. Okay, New York Fashion Week is really long. Next video we'll have crochet and knits. Okay, I have a few more looks for New York still, and then we can go to London. This is not all my content is. So I like to make clothing and talk about making clothing and show you guys what I create and hopefully inspire you guys to create some things as well. But I think this is a fun video to make as well, to just talk about it and look at clothing and look at knits and look at crochets and talk about it. So do share your opinions in regards to the brands that we saw today, the clothing that we saw today. Do you think I was really wrong with some of my takes? Do let me know. I blabbed a lot. After this video, I will probably be posting a DIY, probably crochet, and then I will have part 3 of the New York Fashion Week videos. And I'll try to like sprinkle these every so often, but I don't know, like I'll see if people really don't like them. They do take a little while to make and film and edit. So if it's not everyone's cup of tea, I might stop doing them. But I think it's fun. I like talking about these knits and crochets. Do consider following me on my other social medias if you still have them. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye bye.